Wow. I cannot tell you how exciting it is to look out and see all your shining faces looking back. It's not on? It should be. Oh, I gotta get close. Okay, can you hear me now? All right. Being too quiet is not usually one of my problems, so what I said is, I cannot tell you how wonderful it is to look out and see all your shining faces. Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Pilch from the Temple Isaiah Mental Health Committee, and we are delighted to be sponsoring this community event. Since we began 12 years ago, our team has been deeply committed to raising awareness about mental health issues and combating the stigma of mental illness. I cannot think of better ambassadors for that message than the Me2 Orchestra. I have wanted them to come to Temple Isaiah for several years, and now that it is finally happening, I and many others are simply thrilled. Before introducing the wonderful Me2 Orchestra Executive Director, Caroline Whidden, to my right, I want to recognize and thank Shirley Hurwitz, her sister Luann Tody, and the Hy and Greta Berkowitz Foundation for their generous support of this event. It's going to embarrass her, but I want her to at least raise her hand. If not, stand up, please. I also want to recognize the Temple Isaiah Mental Health Committee members and ask them to literally stand up so that you can recognize and seek them out at our reception to ask questions about our activities. Okay, come on up, everybody. Let's go. They're all wearing name tags, some of which are yellow like mine, but if the newer members are wearing other colors, so you can look us all up. Special appreciation on the committee for this event goes to Larry Furman. Can you all hear me? Larry Furman, Fran Detweiler, and Rosalie Weiss. I also want to thank all the Temple Isaiah staff who have helped make this event possible, particularly Jade Nichols, Stephen Jaworski, Jenny Keegan, and Raj Shamash, none of whom are here at the moment, but all of whom have made a big difference in this event. Unless I'm missing it and one of them is here, but I don't think any are here. It's very hard to see faces with these masks, as you know. Finally, I want to note how thrilled we are to have both our senior rabbi, Howard Jaffe, who I would ask to stand. He's standing with his hand, which is pretty big, in the back of the room, and Associate Rabbi Rachel Maiman, who are both with us. What a delight to have you. Now I'm thrilled to give the microphone to Caroline Whidden, the Me2 Executive Director.
Thank you. Does anybody else hear that high-pitched sound? Is the music director vocalizing in his green room, or is it an owl or something? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that can be done about it, but that's all I can hear. Hello. It is so nice to be at Temple Isaiah this afternoon. My name is Caroline, and I have a diagnosis of depression and a generalized anxiety disorder with panic attacks. I want to start by telling you that I grew up in a church that only helped to exacerbate my mental health issues. So I cannot tell you how amazing it is to me that Temple Isaiah has this mental health committee. I mean, it's something that is really just, to me, it was unheard of. So bravo, and can I tell you how active they are? My iPhone can tell you how active they are. Texts, phone calls, emails, but beautifully. I mean, just so hands-on in organizing this and so enthusiastic. And to me, it is so refreshing. I don't know if it's a reflection of just the temple here or just the times that we live in, that we are more and more having these discussions. And today we want to have this mental health discussion along with some great music. So thank you so much for making this event possible and for creating space where we can have some hopefully very open and honest discussions about mental health. Me2 is the world's only classical music organization that was created for people living with mental illness and the people who support them. So we think, a really beautifully integrated group. There are no auditions to get into this group. Orchestra members, how many people liked the fact that you didn't have to audition to get into this group? Yeah, it's one of our more popular traits. There are also no fees to join the group. We really, when Ronald Braunstein, the conductor, and I sat down 11 years ago to talk about what this group would look like, we wanted to really break down the barriers for anyone to participate. And I think a lot of people would tell you that the most unique and special thing about Me2 is that about 50% of our members are living with a diagnosis, including schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, addiction, depression, trauma, dissociative disorder, eating disorders. And for a lot of people, that feels like just really like, wow, how could that be that, half of the people in the orchestra are living with something? And I will tell you, that is not that unique. And that's true in more of the rooms that we're in these days than not. If you are here today and you think, gosh, I don't know anybody who lives with any of those diagnoses, I would respectfully say that you are incorrect. And that if you think that, it's only because they're not telling you. And the reason people don't tell is because of the stigma, because it's real. So we hope that today you will join us in this stigma-free zone. Let's keep breaking down barriers and having important discussions. So a couple of quick notes about the program. You will notice in the printed program, if you picked one up, that later, after we perform Tchaikovsky, we're going to have a little Q&A. And this is a lot of fun for us. This is a time when you can ask us anything you want. So whatever is on your mind, whether it's about the music or mental health or the instruments, the conductor, you can dream it, you can ask it. We'll do our best as a group to answer your questions. So you can think about that while we're playing. And I also want to mention that we are going to open the program with the national anthem of Ukraine. And we're doing that not because we're a political organization. We are definitely not. I think, for me, this is certainly the first war that I've lived through where on the 24-hour news cycle and social media, I'm actually seeing the war unfold. And pertinent to what we're doing today, I'm seeing musicians bury their instruments with the hopes of keeping them intact. We saw Tchaikovsky's house where he wrote his first symphony destroyed by troops a couple of weeks ago. So we offer the anthem today, and I want to paraphrase something that President Zelensky said when he spoke at the Grammys a couple of weeks ago. The opposite of war is music. Thank you. use this one.
You're gonna introduce me? Okay.
I think it's on. We'll just make sure you have to get right up in it.
Hello. I'm Marcia Zuckerman, an amateur violist and a professional psychiatrist. I grew up in a Reform temple similar to this one and haven't spoken from the bima since my bat mitzvah in about 1970, and I was so anxious that day that I vomited all morning before reading my Torah portion. I was an anxious kid, I had panic attacks and a kind of childhood form of OCD. I grew out of most of that anxiety, but I was prone to depression, and it affected my work life. In the 1980s, I was a technical writer at Lotus Development Corporation, a software company, and I took on my first management project. I knocked myself out, probably worked longer hours than in most of my medical training, and did a good job. But when it was over, that whole focus was gone, and I became terribly depressed. I had what I now know to be the classic neurovegetative symptoms of depression. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I couldn't concentrate at work, I didn't enjoy anything. And it was 1988, after many missteps, I found my way to a psychiatrist who started me on a new medication, Prozac. It wasn't a household word yet, and I didn't expect much. But in a few weeks, I could sleep, I could enjoy food again, I got interested in a new project, and started a new job within the company. I also started psychotherapy with a psychiatrist who helped me understand what had gone wrong and improved my competence, my confidence. In fact, it was all so important to me that I decided to go to medical school and become a psychiatrist. And I wish I could tell you that it was smooth sailing from there. But medical school doesn't bring out the best in most people, and depression again affected my work life. I also wish I could tell you that the medical field recognizes that depression is a treatable illness and rewards people for seeking treatment, but I can't tell you that either. That would be a story for another day. So fighting stigma against mental illness, mental health diagnoses was already on my agenda when I ran into the Me2 orchestra about 5 years ago and signed right up. Music speaks directly to the limbic system where emotions are processed. And music has been one of the things that kept me healthy and growing, even during the deepest isolation of the pandemic. Although I couldn't motivate myself to practice the viola when I wasn't playing with other people, I did have fun training my ear by picking out the songs I was listening to, mostly big band music from the 40s, the Hamilton playlist, and most recently, the very wise Disney movie Encanto. The orchestra also met weekly by Zoom when we couldn't rehearse in person, which strengthened our sense of community tremendously. I can tell you that I play better because of that sense of community, and so does the whole orchestra. Playing music in community is a brilliant way to fight mental illness and build mental health. I hope some of you make music with others, and I appreciate that all of you showed up to hear and support the Me2 orchestra. Thank you.
I almost hate to say anything. I wish we could just kind of stay in that space for a minute. But now that I'm standing back up here, we are going to open things up for a little Q&A, but I have to tell you first, I'm not sure if the rest of you realize this, but from my viewpoint, the whole first row in front of the violins packed. You know, they got their fan club, loving it. The whole first row in front of the violas, wide open. Nobody sat there. People, they already have a complex. This is the stuff that viola jokes are made of. Did you do it on purpose? A collective? Thank you, sir. You're a hero. You're a hero. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Some viola therapy going on right there. This is what it is to be stigma-free. Who has a question? Anything? Yes. Oh, and I think, you're gonna run with the mic, or do you want me to repeat the question if I can hear it? I can talk pretty loudly. You speak loudly and I'll repeat it. You think? Yeah. Okay.
All right, can you hear me better? The question I have is about the selection of the music. So it is a classical music orchestra, and the question is, do you select music particularly based on other things beyond the fact that it's classical?
Ronnie, do you want to take the mic from her or come up here? I don't want you to.
Could you rephrase your question?
Are there other criteria that you use in the selection of the music beyond the fact that it's classical? Like by composer, by certain moods or modes?
No, I only program things that I think are good for the orchestra. That each concert we get a little bit better. So each concert I program a little bit more difficult orchestra music, and it's kind of like that. I program things that they really like playing, yeah, and that's good for the growth of the orchestra.
So it's around development of the orchestra as much as it is what kind of music you're playing.
Just we do the best music.
We're glad for that. Okay.
Oh, a question in the back.
He just wants me to get exercise. I know who it is, so.
We're also open to comments. Comments, if you have anything to offer.
So thank you so much for coming and inviting the. Thank you so much for coming and letting us enjoy your work. My question is, how do the members of the orchestra support each other in terms of their health, either in the same ways or different ways if you were an orchestra of diabetics or people with psoriasis or people with diabetes?
That was a lot of great ideas for orchestras that you just put out there. Wow.
Asked by a physician.
That makes sense. I feel like maybe somebody in the orchestra would be best suited to answer that. And while I wait for one of them to be brave and think of something they want to say, I will say that I think, it's funny. People often, I think when they imagine a mental health orchestra, they think that, we're in rehearsals and that people are having crises all the time and we're kind of, like constantly having to, share pills and meditate and all this. But what...
Was that an option?
Well, we'll talk later, Josh. We don't talk about it publicly. These things are regulated. But it speaks to the fact that people don't understand that there are long periods of recovery. and stability. And so that while most of us are living with some type of diagnosis, that we just come to rehearsal, and I think for a lot of people, it's nice not to have to think about our mental health when we're playing Corelli and Tchaikovsky. And so I'll add that, but please, Josh.
Yeah, I would. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Okay, great. Thanks. Hi, I'm Josh. Play violin. And I can actually give you two examples. One, a little less concrete, which is coming together every week to play. The consistency brings a lot of balance, and balance is really important for people who often experience imbalance in their brain chemistry.
Yeah.
I can give you a more concrete example. We had a concert at a correctional facility, and that was very triggering for me for very personal reasons, and I decided to not play the concert, which was interesting because as soon as I said I wasn't going to be able to play the concert got canceled.
It was not related. COVID.
Yes, COVID related. Thanks, COVID. But in that process, I reached out to my section, the second violins, and said, I'm not going to be there for these reasons, and I was very transparent about what those reasons were. And I felt really bad because part of mental illness sometimes, particularly the mental illness that I'm diagnosed with, people-pleasing and a worry about people's perceptions can be very triggering. And I was overwhelmed with the level of support that I received. Me needing to step back to safeguard my mental health was accepted and supported, and I wasn't made to feel bad about doing that, where I've experienced in other situations, me trying to safeguard my mental health is often seen as a sign of weakness. So I felt very supported by my orchestra and my section and the leaders of the organization.
Thank you, Josh. That's a beautiful example. Oh, and I think Betty has something to add back here.
Oh, Betty, sorry. Oh, this is really getting to be.
Hello, my name is Betty. Can you hear me? Oh, good, good, good. I had to face a problem that the orchestra supported me through this. I'm a retired music teacher, so hearing is very important. And I was losing my hearing and didn't realize it. So I finally went to the doctor, found out that I was losing and I needed hearing aids. Then I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear the conductor. My cello, which is a good cello, sounded terrible. So I had to step out of the orchestra for a minute to find some excellent hearing aids. But in the process, everyone in the orchestra always supported me. When I said, where is the orchestra starting? I didn't know. He would say, start at number B. Well, consonants are lost if you have a hearing problem. So it was very, very helpful for me to be here.
Thank you so much, Betty. Thank you for that.
Coming.
I just want to say, hearing that there were no auditions, and I was at your BSO concert too, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, I know Bob Crabtree, that's why I'm here, and but I never knew Bob as a musician, and I have to tell you, I was blown away at BSO, and equally today, and it really moves me. You know, I wanted to ask how long most people stay, and my guess is as long as they probably possibly can, how long each of the musicians stays. I could feel the sourcing that you give each other. It's so beautiful, and hearing you explain how you choose your pieces, it makes sense. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing, and hope to hear a lot more of it, and we'll be supporting you however way I can.
Thank you
If
for
I
that.
played an instrument, I'd be up there trying to get in, but I can sing, but if you add singers, I'll be here.
I'll take this moment to add that we, in our strategic plan, we did call for the creation of a choral component. I mean, that's the obvious next step, right? Not everybody plays an instrument, but everybody has a voice. And That too, thanks COVID again. It has been on the back burner, but maybe this fall, we certainly hope. It's a step that we're committed to and hope to see happen soon.
So hold on, it's coming.
Hold on, yeah. Bob, you'll remind me.
Oh, thank you.
Question in the back, couple?
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. I work with a lot of... Thank you. My name is Eric. I have a question about how your mental differences may have enriched your lives as musicians individually and as an orchestra. I think often when we refer to these differences as disorders and illnesses, we lose sight of how the differences can be enriching individually and collectively. I don't know if you have any anecdotes or examples that you would like to share of how your mental differences, when embraced and supported, have enriched your work. Thank you.
That's an interesting one. We have a taker. We always have a taker. I love this group.
I'm not used to using these. Okay. It's right here. Okay. I came here with my son. There's less than a year ago, probably over last summer. At the end, I actually, in my former life, taught sports and just dabbled. But my son has encouraged me to play as well. But I just have to say, in studying sports and differences of learning, one thing I realized through the multicultural learning examples and through multidisciplines is that many of the arts, or most of the arts, are from obviously a creative mind. And I would say that all of our funding that we look at in our state and throughout is being cut off for arts, music, and, well, maybe sports. But it's the creative mind that I think many of the musicians do have, and many are also into the science, that is, the more concrete sciences as well. But in studying that, I just see that this creative mind cannot be cut off. We need to survive, we need to thrive, and our world needs to thrive with it. So I just think we're here because of a creative mind.
All the way in the back, of course.
I'm getting my steps today.
Exactly. Hope that Fitbit is on.
Hi, my name's Abby Smerling. I'm gonna ask a question about children. Do you play for any children with mental illness? One, and if you had a child who is diagnosed with ADD and also dyslexia, what musical instrument or would you find would be most encouraging for that child?
Okay, while the microphone comes back up to the front, and I'm looking at you, do you have anything for? I'll let some of the music educators think about that, but I will offer to you, Abby, that we don't regularly play for children, and I wish we could. Part of the challenge is that because this is a non-auditioned orchestra, and because these are not all like full-time musicians, they've got day jobs. Or they're in school all day. And so, the idea of going into schools and playing would be like so heartwarming and wonderful, but it's just something schedule-wise that really hasn't worked for us. The honest truth is it's not something that we've done yet, but maybe we'll find out a way to do that in the future.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm one of the several music educators in this lovely orchestra. Speaking as an educator, we really want children to play any instrument that makes them happy. There's no restrictions on that. I have several students with those same qualifiers that you mentioned, and they thrive just as well on a violin as on a trumpet or a trombone. So we really want them to find an instrument that speaks to them. that's my 2 cents on it anyways.
Go for what you love. Going once, going twice. Ah, I knew we'd have, but you're not in the back. I mean, really.
Okay, just to go back, this is, again, I just want to echo how inspiring it is to be here and to witness what you all do and to know that this truly comes from everybody's heart. To what extent do you get to be role models for people who may not have the wherewithal to sit in an orchestra at any given moment of time? And you know, it's not just about children, it's about all adults who struggle, and I didn't know if you had opportunities for that.
We are committed to, this is a kind of a different venue for us because at least half of our venues throughout the year are in hospitals, in correctional facilities we try to play for. Essentially, we are dedicated to bringing music where we know for sure that there are people who are suffering, you know, actively, that they're being treated, hopefully receiving treatment for their mental illnesses. I lost my train of thought.
She was asking. Yeah, how you can be and are role models for people who may not be musicians per se.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We do hear from people around the country that say that, you know, they hope we know how powerful it is that just the existence of this group is so inspiring and gives them something to reach for. Ronald will hate that I'm going to say this, but so many people in the orchestras have said, you know, this man with bipolar disorder who stands up in front of me and teaches me every week, he is my hero. He has given me something to aspire to. And Irene, yeah, please.
Yeah, I think it was the first, hi, I'm Irene. I think it was the first concert that I did. We were out in the South End at a park. Because we couldn't be inside. And we were playing knock music, everyone knows, and we invited people walking by to come and conduct us. So I would say in terms of role models, it was great. I think we had like 28 people who came up, and children as well with parents. So, I mean, to kind of just show there's music, it's outside, it's great, and I can actually conduct it because I know it, and they had a wonderful time. So
I can do it.
Yeah.
We're always looking for creative ways to connect with people.
Okay.
Okay, I was going to say we have to stop, but it's the rabbi. I mean,
otherwise he'll give a lecture. It's okay, Howard.
The orchestra's going to.
Thank you. It's nice to be recognized, even with a mask on. Thank you. I want to first, since I do have a question, take this opportunity to say how honored we are to host this event and to have everyone here. It's really very special for us. My question comes back to some words you said at the beginning, Caroline, about your experience growing up in your faith community. And I wonder if anyone would like to just share what you think faith communities can do to better make a space for you to feel supported and included, not just welcomed, but included and a complete part of the community.
Nice light question, as usual.
Yeah, I'm like, how much time do we have?
Yeah, how long do we have? But does anybody, could I say one thing about
Please.
that? People have asked many times about how is it that you have this mental health committee? And I think that it's really important to say it's because there was a partnership. And the partnership was between lay folks like me and clergy like him who said, yeah, you know, there is an issue here and we do need to do something. And how do you all think we should do it as opposed to doing it for us? And so I think that that is an important model for how, in any kind of situation, to approach not doing for, but helping to create an environment where there's an exchange and a partnership. I think that that's been critical. I don't think that that's the only part of it, but that's an important piece, I think. How about all of you? What do you think?
I'll offer that one thing that I think about a lot is that it is very easy, I think, for all of us to be, quote unquote, preaching to the choir, to hold mental health events where basically the mental health people who are already interested in the topic and probably already know a lot about it come together, have a nice afternoon. So I struggle with how it is that we reach the average Joe. And I think that's part of what, I hope that's part of what Me2 does well, is that we convene people for music who might not otherwise show up to a mental health event, but they come for the music and then they get, roped into the conversation. So I would wonder within the structure of a church or a temple of really any organization, how do you not make those special events so special that they don't reach the people they need to reach? How do we better integrate it into our weekly discussions? Just a thought.
I want to ask one question.
Okay.
My husband always says, never say you want to ask one question, but I want to ask one question for now. Okay, I want to ask a question, and I was saying that Jamie, my husband, would say, never say you want to ask one question, you want to ask a lot, which is true, but this one for now. How can we all who are here, and part of the folks who clearly are invested in the success of this orchestra, support you, best support and promote this effort? Obviously, writing checks is helpful.
You can give us
But
money if that is something that you can do.
In spite of everything, you'll accept it.
We
I
are a
know. As long
nonprofit.
as-
No, not
yeah.
in spite. We do. I'll meet you at the reception afterwards.
Right, at the reception.
Also, be ambassadors for us. Go out and tell people what you did today. You should all have your phones out, recording and taking pictures and putting it on social media. Sorry, I'm doing enough of that for all of us.
Yep. Well, maybe you can send it out. But,
I was just told by the gentleman up front we're not allowed to do that. Not if mommy said no. Not if mommy said no. The point being just to share, to tell people about this, and maybe sharing that you went to a concert by Me2 opens up a conversation that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Thank you.
I think he's going to say, we have to play Corelli.
No, I think I never really told the orchestra how much I appreciated them on one particular day. It was 10 years since I'd had any episode or depression. And I was very depressed, but I dragged myself to orchestra, and I told them that I was depressed, and could they help me? Get through the rehearsal. Just get through it. So when I came to the middle of the room, and I just told them that. And then I dragged myself in the next week a little better, and I felt so supported by them. And the concert, we knocked it out of the park together, as usual. But I never really thanked everyone for that support, because we've been giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving, and I never realized what a wonderful space we'd created. So anyway.
And thank you for giving us that opportunity to hear that experience. And we're going to stop so you can do your music.
Okay, we've got to move on. I love the chit chat, love the conversation, but we really do have to move on. Do you want a tune? Yeah. Thank you all so much for your conversation.
you.